can be only one podcast, and may it be the Prince of the Universe. Hi, folks, I'm Matt.
Oh, yeah. Talking about a special subject. Oh, yeah. Special to one man, maybe two, maybe three, maybe an entire nation or the universe. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was Wes. Hey.
Yeah, it's Wes. Hey, how's it going?
Hey.
Yeah.
We fixed malls. We fixed world hunger when we went off the air. Probably even cured cancer along the way, too, after the podcast is over. And now we're coming back with something just as important, wrestling.
Professional wrestling.
Professional wrestling. I had mentioned this to you earlier, and I said, well, what about ways we could, bring, what would make wrestling more popular? And you said, well, actually, wrestling is getting popular again. I was like, oh, is it? Because I've been out of the loop, obviously, because I did not think it was as popular as it was. Let me back up just a little bit. Late 90s, when we were working together, was the last zenith of the wrestling.
That was the real last boom.
Yeah, that was a boom. It was on everyone's mind. Everyone was watching Raw on Monday night.
Yeah.
Okay? Everyone was watching whatever it was.
It was appointment
SmackDown.
TV at that point.
Yeah,
this
and
is TV term.
This is back at the height of the ratings war between WCW and WWF. You always looked and saw who won the ratings war last week because it was neck and neck. Sometimes it'd be WCW, sometimes it'd be WWF, and eventually WWF would run away with it, and WCW would be considered for kids, in a way. With all your classic old people from the '80s, maybe your older parents watched it too.
I think I don't necessarily think it was that. I think that. They were owned by a television network that had a lot of masters to serve, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
So, and you had another company that was being paid on this by television that wanted that product, as opposed to they didn't have to. It wasn't so many strings attached, I think.
Gotcha. It was more of a desire than a disappointment to the TV.
Well, it was just one part of, Turner Media. It was no different than as part of the Braves, as part of the Hawks.
My wife was always a WCW.
Your sister and your wife. Man, this is an Alabama house.
I'm telling you. My wife was always a fan of WCW just because she liked all those old classic wrestlers, and even though they were all past their prime, they were still serving in some capacity to WCW, and that's just what she felt was the better one. I was WCW for the longest, and then, of course, made the switch like everyone else to WWF. That happened in the later 90s, It was huge. It was huge. Everyone was wearing NWO shirts. Everyone wearing DX shirts. We were even selling shirts for a short time at the, I believe you were the one that convinced Wayne.
I was indeed. That was
some clothing styles.
Yeah, my small drop
contribution.
Insight.
There you go. Which I enjoy because I still have my NWO one, I think, that I had years ago.
No doubt. It's probably in this room somewhere.
Maybe. Could be. But it was big, and then it just kind of died off. And I would pinpoint it when WCW was bought by Vince McMahon, and then they kind of went into a unified champion, and then they did drafts, and then
I think anytime the competition
dies off, then you're
had
gone.
ECW also in that, and
and ECW got bought out too. It was a big everything. All the House of Cards folded, and Vince McMahon stood alone in the field.
Sure.
But then, of course, without competition, true creativity dies. And
quite the wordsmith.
Thank you. I'm done now. It's all you after this. But after that, I remember when I lost interest because we couldn't get, SmackDown, because it was on UPN, which was not, it kind of was here, but wasn't.
It was network TV, but not for
some small station carried it.
South.
You couldn't even get it hardly.
Yeah.
And that's where most of my favorite wrestlers went in one of their drafts. I was like, okay, well, I don't care about Undertaker was hardly wrestling even back then. He was
that was their way
on
of trying to create competition and
their
split.
own competition. Yeah,
which is a smart idea.
No, it's smart, but when all my wrestlers I can't watch, I was like, okay, I don't care about Stone Cold Steve Austin. I've never liked Stone Cold Steve Austin, and he's on Raw. Yay!
There's
okay,
something
great.
wrong with you.
So just never liked him. But anyway. the characters got split up, and that's kind of when I started parting ways. I did come back a little bit for the what was their short competition on TNT?
You mean Spike, TNA?
Oh, Spike, TNA Wrestling.
Impact Wrestling now.
Did come back a little bit for that. Mm-hmm. Thought they had some up-and-comers. Actually, you told me about this, I believe. You got me because you want to tell me about Samoan Joe and a few of the others. Was it you or?
I would think it would probably be me.
Okay.
I've got to be
you said you should watch the Angel. I can't remember his name now.
Christopher Angel.
Yeah, Christopher Angel and a few other wrestlers said they've got
Christopher Daniels.
Excuse me.
You got
but
me.
they've got some new fresh talent that you thought was doing good, and then of course they had some of the. Anyone let go or cut from WWF would immediately make their transition to TNA, and it was almost feeling like a good old school, rivalry. It didn't win out because, what was his name? Jeff Jarrett? Mm-hmm. I think he's garbage. I never liked him as a wrestler or as persona, and he basically helped run that company. He was very unlikable persona. Okay.
He was partial owner for part of it.
I know. He and Dixie Carter?
Correct.
Yeah. And but the thing was, it was all about him fighting for the title every week, which of course when you own the company, part of the company, I guess you do make yourself the star. He did step aside a little bit here and there, but I never found his character at all interesting when he was with WWE. And
I don't think most people did.
Yeah, so to have him headlining most of the stuff, to me was the biggest turnoff, especially when you had bigger names and way better talent on your roster. And I think they sunk their own ship due to that. Yes, no. I mean, I don't know, so I'm not the expert here. But that's what eventually turned me off. I was like,
I think that played a role in it. I think that, I think they had a lot of the old dying days, and they had a lot of the old guard of the way business was.
That's true.
Mixing with these younger guys, and I think there was just too much of the. Too much of that hurt.
So they were pulling it in two different directions, and it could only go one.
Beautiful. Once again.
Okay. No, I get what you mean, because you have the new type of wrestler who were all excellent, doing their. I can see their faces, but I can't remember their names. But they were good. You had told me about them, and so I gave them a shot. I was like, wow, this is interesting. And then Megan liked it because you still got to see your occasional Ric Flair or some. WCW come through there. Kurt Angle came through there at one time too.
We went to a TNA house show here, if you remember.
Oh, was it TNA? I thought it was WWE.
No, we went to a TNA show.
That was a TNA show. Wow. Okay.
And there was about 300 people, maybe, at the Monroe Civic Center that night. And it holds about 4,000.
Right.
So...
Yeah, but they had some interesting people, I remember. But then that one just kind of imploded for that reason. And then now you have, is it AEW?
Correct.
And I've heard good things. Mm-hmm. Haven't watched it. I know that the biggest news was a few weeks ago. CM Punk made his debut there and is tearing it up. But I also hear the same thing that I heard about early days of TNA, that you need to check them out. They got some new hot freshness.
They have a lot of freshness.
So you like A&E?
I like AEW.
How is it better than TNA?
I think that the guys that are more of your tenured stars are doing more with the younger side of the talent base and bringing them up and making it a collaborative effort.
Okay. So there's no lines drawn in the sand. It's more of a collaborative effort to make it all work together.
I don't think there's a lot of invisible ceilings.
That's good.
Yeah.
Who runs AEW?
The guy that owns it's name is Tony Khan, and his dad owns the Jacksonville Jaguars and owns
odd. Okay, so he was just a wrestling fan that wanted to...
Somewhat.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he owns a soccer team.
Now, so he just created this, or did he buy a Ring of Honor or whatnot?
Well, he started it with a group of independent guys. Cody Rhodes being one of them, Dusty's son.
Yep.
A tag team called the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, just this group of guys, and they went into it with, the people that owned Time Warner, and were kind of, said, hey, it's been 20 years since wrestling's been here. It was one time your hottest show.
Give it another shot.
Give it another shot.
Wow, and they convinced him.
Yeah.
What's hot is new. I mean, what's old is new now.
Yeah, we're gonna put a new spin on things.
That's a big thing, because from what I remember, other stations aren't wild about bringing, wrestling back into. Remember, for some weird reason, they had it on Sci-Fi Channel. Remember that?
Yeah.
And Sci-Fi made them do the kooky vampire, the whatever spooky, to give it a sci-fi
Zombies,
feel.
all kinds of stuff.
Really dumb, very cheesy.
Very.
But it's almost like Sci-Fi's like, well, if that doesn't work for our crew, then no one's going to watch this. But you understand, you're bringing in people who don't watch the Sci-Fi Channel to see wrestling. That's what you're doing. So,
right. Remember you said two different parts tearing at the same thing.
Yeah.
Rips in the middle.
Two different directions.
You got nothing.
Two different minds going in different directions and ripping the whole thing apart. So, with A&E has this, AEW, excuse me, has this relationship with TNT. Is it TNT?
Yeah.
Correct? Okay, TNT's gotten back into the game.
Yep.
Why not? When does this play? Is it Monday nights?
Wednesday nights.
Wednesday nights. Okay, so they're not even picking a fight with the WWE.
Well, they have a new show on Fridays that comes on right after SmackDown goes off, too.
Nah, still not going head to head.
Not yet.
Okay, should they?
I think that they're doing what I think that they're.
Are they picking their battles right now?
I think that they're doing it the right way.
Okay. Would you ever go head to head, or would you keep it safe and let?
I think if they really wanted to, why not? I mean, I definitely think that that's the way to go to really build competition.
Okay. So let me dial it back here to WWE. What's going on with them? Are they good? I know you liked NXT. You told me about that about a year or so ago.
I mean,
you were a fan.
Yeah, a little bit.
Weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I was. Okay. I mean, there's certain people on there that
it may have been a while back where you said that was better than what was going on the main
right.
channel.
I think that it was a
because they were giving them their own.
It's not as contrived of dusting off these old storylines, and you feel like I've already seen this.
And again, I think it was you that told me the reason you liked it because they were giving the wrestlers their own a little bit of more creative freedom for their character.
It didn't seem
and idea. Like the guys in the back work together, say, "Hey, we should do this, and they'd pitch it, and most times it'd get approved, and it was something fresh and new. And
it didn't feel stale.
Okay,
yeah.
How's it going now?
Well, I think that the WWF is in a real. I think they want to sell it.
Oh.
And I think
Vince wants to sell?
Well, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And I think that once again, when they went public and they've got all these different kind of constraints, and you've got different VPs coming and going, and it's corporate.
No, that's true. That's true.
It's not a wrestling business anymore.
Well, I know because it was my news feed was filled up with this about all these recent cuts.
Yes. And
some surprise cuts.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts on that?
I think that Vince is known for. I'll link it to the current workforce shortage that we have in America.
Okay, this is interesting. I'm listening.
Vince has always looked at his talent as talent, not as people.
Statistics.
Correct.
Got it.
I can get somebody else.
And that's true.
To
for
do
just
this
as much for less.
Younger, faster, stronger, and cheaper.
Yep.
And I think that he looks at it that way. And when you have a company outside of this that encourages creativity and, hey, what do you think about this? Rather than this is what you're going to do, it grows. People go, I want to go do that. I mean, I'll take less money to be happy rather than the most money I can possibly get and dial back my creativity and become stale.
Gotcha. So is Triple H running this company?
He's one of the higher ups, but he is not the horse's head.
Okay.
They have a guy named Nick Khan.
Shut up.
No, it's just,
Shut up.
Totally blurring the lines of reality here. I think that from what you read, and you remember you don't believe anything that
It's
you
all
read.
speculation.
It's
all speculation.
I think that he looks at everything like he was going through in a different business model and saying, well, why are we paying this guy this much money when we can pay this guy's making this much money? Why don't we just cut this guy?
Right.
I mean, we already got this other guy, even though the guy that's making 3 times that amount of money may be bringing in a certain amount of money, merchandise, and all of these types things that this other guy's not. He's just looking at it, oh, well, this is just somebody else we can
Again, more numbers than names.
Correct. In a creative...
No, that makes sense. It's like Moneyball for wrestling.
Yeah, and it is sales.
Now, one could turn that around and say, but the WWE has a reputation to uphold. I'm not saying I'm saying that, but someone could turn around and say, you need to have the fine wine, even though it doesn't sell, it needs to be on the shelf. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Do you not agree with that? Do you appreciate the way WWE is doing business? How do you feel?
I think that it's over for that business.
Whoa.
Model.
Okay.
Well, I just think that.
Business model? The business model they're adhering to now, or you think this is doing
Yes,
them?
I think. Yeah, I don't think that's why it's time to sell, because it's not a wrestling company anymore. It's they want it to be Universal Studios. They want to turn it into
more entertainment than wrestling.
Right, wrestling be
merchandising,
be part of it, and that's what Vince has always done well with, was merchandising, and you can't
absolutely
ever undercut the significance of that impact.
The WWE TV or whatever it's called.
Right. Yeah, and and they sold that to Peacock and made a ton of money.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know it was on Peacock.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So
their entire file. I mean, their
large amount of
archive.
Large amount. Of it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. You know what? That makes sense, because in the streaming wars, everyone's trying to grab something exclusive that no one else has.
Right.
That was smart. That was a smart move.
But it's kind of like this. When you start selling off pieces of different things, eventually...
you don't have anything left.
Right. And I think that that's what he would like to do. He wants to have somebody here and somebody here want what's in the middle.
Gotcha. Fight over what's left over. You like that piece? There's more here.
Right.
Okay, so you think it should finally leave McMahon hands?
Yes.
Okay, definitely. You didn't even pause on that.
Oh,
okay.
No.
Who would you prefer would get it?
I don't think that there's. I don't
have it. There's not a preferable buyer out there.
Well, I mean, I think that whoever buys it,
AEW doesn't want it, right?
Well, I believe that Tony Khan's dad has more money than Vince. If he wanted to buy it, he could probably buy it.
So why didn't he buy it?
Sometimes you don't do that just yet. I mean, what good did that do Vince buying WCW?
You want to see the stock go down and get it at a deal? Is that what he's looking?
I'm not really even looking at that side of it.
Okay.
I'm just saying I don't think that
if he wanted it, he'd get it.
The
but he
creative forces. It's too many cooks in the kitchen for that business.
Okay, the WWE.
Yeah, I think.
But again, if you were to buy it, you could restructure that entire corporation. I mean, you're the boss now. There's always the pink slips that come through when a takeover happens.
I would think you need to bring people in there that have some level of knowledge of wrestling, and I think you need to bring a variety of demographics in to get their input on it.
Okay. All right. So you don't know who you'd want to buy it, but who would you want in office positions?
Who would I want to run the WWE?
Well, no, you know what I mean. Like you just said, you want some people who are knowledgeable. So they're office jobs. They're not the head guy, but they're office jobs.
I think Hunter obviously knows the wrestling business.
Hunter
Triple H.
Oh,
Stephanie's
definitely. Yeah. No, definitely.
husband. But
You think he could do a good job at an office level?
I mean, I
position?
think that he knows the business as well as anybody else.
Isn't he the one that created and fanned the flames for NXT?
Right. He
Wasn't that
tried
his?
to do a lot for NXT, but, you know,
And plus, he knows a lot about the business too. But I'm just saying, is that his resume?
I think that's his coup de grace over the past 5 to 10 years. But, you know, he did a lot of things that didn't help the business too when he was, you know,
right.
choosing who he thought should win titles and all that kind of stuff.
Against the wishes of the public.
Correct. Yeah. I think that they need
That
they need
hubris
somebody
that
that
McMahon
needs-
has, he keeps too. They'll double down even when people are booing their champion. They'll double down and push him through anyway.
right, because that's Vince's personality.
Yeah,
You know, Vince is like, you know, nobody puts Vince McMahon in a corner.
that is true. That is true.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that whoever you brought in would need to be to look at the wrestling product and how much of it they have and really make sure none of it touches. It's kind of like we all have friends, okay? But not all of your friends mingle with all of your friends. Like
Okay,
you may
yeah.
have
No, I
your
see that.
friends, hey, these are my hunting buddies. Hey, these are my fishing buddies. Hey,
Yeah,
these
they're
are
all
my
different in
wrestling
certain
buddies.
categories. Yeah,
I think that part of the problem with the WWE is they make all their friends get together. And it just doesn't work.
it's a forced family picnic, but no one wants to be there.
Right. It just doesn't
Okay.
work. That's not how you can make it work. You cannot have all of that under the same giant umbrella.
Okay, so you talked a little bit about how you would restructure. You said you put the right people in charge,
Right.
that know what they're doing.
Right.
Triple H's name, anyone else's.
Well, I think that you need to have one person in charge of different parts of it, like 3 different tiers or something.
You don't have to give me what positions, just what type of people would you hire?
I think you have to hire somebody that understands the wrestling business. I think everybody who's probably listens to this that cares about wrestling would probably say
And who
someone
would-
like Jim Cornette.
Okay, all right, right.
I mean,
he
he's
definitely.
a-
He definitely knows it. No one will argue that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that his track record for believability and authenticity of building tension between human beings
Yeah.
is about as good as anybody could do.
All right.
And he's older, but you also have younger people that
Who are also pitching in ideas too
Right.
to give it a good mix.
yeah. But I think if anybody, that's who I would pick.
Right. Okay. So now you have this. What does WWE look like under this new regime? What does it change up? What does it shake up? Does it bring back stars? Does it get back?
I don't think you need to bring back anybody there. That
You
has
stay with
wore it completely.
You stay with the stable of wrestlers you have.
I think everybody needs a top person, and they do not touch.
Okay.
You know, that's how you build your business. You just don't let it touch.
All right. So you can make a prediction right here. Would AEW eventually catch up with WWE, in your opinion, if they continue to go on down
Yes.
this path?
I think
How long does that take?
12 months.
Wow. Really? They're that popular now?
Well, I think if you look at what they're doing in their first
Versus
2
what
years,
WWE's doing.
if you just kind of dial your time machine back and you look at WCW and bringing in Hogan and Savage
Right.
and the stumbling blocks of that, and then when you brought in Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, and you had all of these things, those were these big pieces, but you had these small pieces that were Chris Jericho, Chris Benoit, Eddie
Yeah.
Guerrero, Rey Mysterio. You had this incredible amount of undercard talent. You had the right mixture of that, and I think that's what AEW has. They have this incredible mixture, and they've developed people that are pretty incredible talent.
Is there any tier, meaning champion, tag team? Is there a cruiserweight in AEW?
Nope.
Whatever. No cruiserweight. What belts exist in AEW?
Heavyweight, they have a
Television.
TNT title.
Okay.
which you could say is like an intercontinental
the television
yeah,
okay.
something like that. Tag team, you have a women's champion.
That's it. Are they just and I'm guessing WWE still has their conglomerate of belts. Okay. On the 4 levels that AEW has, are they beating WWE stable in all 4 categories?
Well, the problem with WWE is you have 3 of everything. So you have 3 tag team champions, 3 world champions.
Okay, but more isn't better.
Correct.
So, looking at that, is there, you know what I'm saying, just across the board?
I mean, for me, yeah, I would say I would rather watch.
I mean, this is what I'm asking you.
Yeah, I would say AEW's talent is.
I remember, I'll give you an example. Back in the day, you had the light heavyweight champion, and then you had WCW's cruiserweight.
Yep.
I always picked WCW's cruiserweight over anything WWE had because they had the luchadores. They had a billion fast action, just move.
Well, WWF is known for being a big man's.
No, that's true. That's true. But the thing is, though, it was so much more exciting to watch the cruiserweight division.
Well, they made it exciting.
Than it was, and
they gave it the time
to grow and flourish and give it a good story.
Sure.
And they got a great stable of people, and they changed the pace up for that and gave us something that we weren't used to seeing before.
Correct.
No, I totally understand why I enjoyed it, but you know what I'm saying, apples to apples, I would have said, even with all WWE's, and they had some light heavyweight people, but even with all that, it just didn't measure up to the cruiserweight.
I think that,
So that's what I'm asking, like, women's division, who has the best women wrestlers and stuff like that. Even though I've never.
I think that's a pretty tight race. I mean,
Okay, so you think both are pretty even?
Yeah, I mean, I just think AEW, what they do better is they include the talent. Seems like they either succeed or they fail on their own rather than they succeed or fail by what someone's telling them to do.
Okay. So now
it's more authentic.
Okay, no, that's a fair answer.
It's authentic play fighting.
No, I understand what you meant by that. Wait, wrestling's fake. Anyway, so AEW comes to a house show here. Did 300 people show up?
I would assume more than 300 people would show up.
So 500.
That's a really good question.
You mocked TNA earlier, and I would think that it'd be a low show too. Not because they're unpopular, but I'm talking about wrestling as a sport.
I think that
have ratings.
TNA would draw at least 1,000 people here.
Okay, so I didn't know any. When you were telling me it's on the rise, I did not know this. This is a surprise to me. So are viewership numbers going up?
Yeah, they had the highest rated show on cable.
Okay, right on. Whereabout would you rate? They're definitely not what they were in the 90s, though.
Well, no, but I think that television business is not what it was. So you don't have appointment television like we talked about.
There is, I can't let that one go because there is a pocket for sports, which in a way wrestling is. I know it's sports entertainment.
It's 52 weeks a year.
But
you have no downtime. You cannot compare it.
Okay. It's a live event that people tune in to watch.
There's no gambling involved.
You don't binge this like Netflix.
Without Vegas, you can't compare sports.
Okay. It's a live event though.
It's a live event.
It's not really reality TV, technically.
No, it's niche.
But it's not something you binge or stream on Netflix.
Correct.
But I think it is something that can be judged like, oh, there's so much stuff out there. Yeah, but wrestling's got to be unique. You got to watch it that day of, or you miss the water cooler talk the next day after.
I think that
the internet will spoil it for you if no one else does.
No, I agree with you, but I don't think that you can compare TV. I mean, I will battle this on this, but I just don't think you can compare that.
So people don't TV get as together. A whole is just down.
Do you think that there are people that get together on Thursday nights at 8:00 to watch Friends? They used to.
Probably not.
When people used to get together to watch The Office.
No, because now all that is binging.
Well, I mean, if you there is no
people-
new show that people can do that with.
Not on a regular weeknight, but that's because way people view TV is now through streaming apps.
Correct.
Okay.
So you can't
So
judge
people
it.
are binging stuff, but you can't binge. I mean, you don't say, "Hey, let's sit down and watch the last, quarter season of the first quarter of AEW." No one says that. No one does that.
Correct.
It's more of
there's
when
no
the event
end.
happens,
There's
like
no
NFL, like NBA, like
There's no end.
okay.
You can't say, I want to watch the last year
I know
of
So,
AEW.
I know what you're saying. That's unique, but the thing is though, just because it's unique, that's why no one's going to watch on TV.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying that your audience is not. You can't capture the audience like you used to. It's like saying network
Okay.
TV in
So-
1983.
Okay, so it will be mediocre. The viewership will, the fans will, from here on out, because it can't ever achieve the greatness that it once was in the 80s or 90s.
I don't think any TV can.
I'm talking about wrestling
I know, but I'm saying you're comparing wrestling
because
to
they're on TV.
Correct.
How else are you going to watch it besides
I'm
a live
saying
show?
no. I don't. I think that the whole system that what we're talking about, that late 90s, I think it's been proven. There's a lot of holes in those numbers.
Right.
People jumping back and forth and blah blah blah. I think that there was more. Instead of saying, well, 9 million people watch wrestling between two companies, it was probably 5 million people.
Yeah,
They just watch both.
right. This is a male soap opera
Yes.
that never ends, but it's fun. I'm not dogging that.
No.
That's what the appeal is to wrestling, by the way, folks. I'm not meaning it as a cut down.
And I don't think so much it's a soap opera is the appeal of. I think that's what people. I don't think that you can. I don't think we could sit here for an hour and talk about what term we would compare it to. I think if you get wrestling, you don't need to understand a particular term, and if you don't get it, no term is going to please you.
So wrestling will never be as big as it was in the 90s.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think.
But it's gotten better than it has been.
I think that the audience that you have now is more dedicated, and it's a real number.
Okay.
Versus what you had back then. Like there is.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. You'd have people that didn't care that much about it, but they'd watch it because everyone else is must-see TV.
Correct.
So I got another one for you, and then we'll end it here. But AEW, usually competition, iron sharpens iron. Competition is always good.
Correct.
Always. The Monday Night Wars were some of the best TV we ever saw. You started seeing pay-per-view matches on Raw and Nitro.
Sure.
I mean, usually they'd say them for the pay-per-view, but now we've got to win. It was necessary to win Monday night. So you did whatever you could. You put Sting and Goldberg together, which should have been a pay-per-view. You put, whoever together. You put Mankind on the line.
Hogan and Goldberg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you want to steal those ratings at the last minute. You want to keep
Correct.
people involved. But it sounds to me like WWE is not stepping up to the challenge that AEW is presenting.
I don't think WWE.
Do they consider them a challenge?
They don't consider it, and I think that's because they're wanting to sell the product.
Okay, so they're not interested in competition. They're not interested. They're just wanting to keep their product pristine to have someone pick it up.
Yes, I think that there's that. I think if the pandemic had not happened, the WWE would have already been sold.
No. Do you have a inkling of who? I still want to see who you think would buy it.
I mean, I think that.
Do you think someone who they've sold the Peacock NBC buys it? I mean,
it seems to me, you've got Disney lurking out there.
It's true. Okay.
You turn.
Why not get an extra product exclusive for your streaming?
Why not make part of Disney WWE themed?
Does everything move off TV and go onto a streaming service?
I definitely think that if the financials are there, that's what they would do.
Well, I'm just saying that because now it seems like stations are more interested in growing their streaming numbers than they are sharing the TV revenue with the cable companies.
I think it's everything has a different business model, and you don't need to chase what everybody else is chasing because eventually there's nothing left.
We agree with that. But that's because we're not sitting there counting dollar bills in the back office. But I'm just saying the mentality, the zeitgeist. There's a word I learned a long time ago. the mind of the times right now is we got to have streaming. We got to beat everyone else in streaming. We got to be the new Netflix. You know what I'm saying? Because everything's going. There's 1 billion streaming apps. I just learned of one the other day I never even knew existed. It changed names is what it was. An old one changed names I didn't even know. I can't keep up with all this. How are there 10, much less 5 more streaming apps these days? Most of them show crap. But the thing is, though, everyone's trying to just bully out. It's elbow room. It's just a mad rush to see who can boast that. I mean, HBO Max, immediately. Not even thinking about it. Same day release. Movie, you can go to the movie theater or you can buy HBO Max. Well, that's dumb. Buy HBO Max. Right there. Who needs to go to the movies? I've gone to one movie this entire year.
The WWE Network was based on. Hey, why sell pay-per-views?
And
give
that's what
the pay-per-view company.
The only problem was they could only sell that to wrestling fans. And that would cut into their pay-per-view revenue, I'd imagine, did it?
Well, I mean, if you sold your product for $40, a pay-per-view was $40, but the pay-per-view is going to get half of it, at least.
That's fair. I don't know that their end sales numbers were, but that makes sense.
So why not say, well, why don't we get all of it and make people go, well, this is ignorant not to get this. It's kind of like when you see a commercial for Burger King and they go, you get a Whopper for $1 more, and you go, well, shit, if they're going to give it to me, I'll spend $1 more.
That's true.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. I hate Burger King, but yeah, that'd be a deal I'd try out. No, I know. I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
No, but that's a deal that, I mean, even if I saw that, I'd be like, may not hurt.
It's kind of like
2 things for cheaper buys.
Yeah, no. You want less people touching.
If more people are buying a cheaper product, you're making more money than someone selling an expensive product. Yeah. It's there's something you showed me just recently that I've been watching about Beanie Babies, which we'll have a discussion on later, and talk about how they're doing the same. They did the same thing.
Correct. With
$5 bean bags, basically. All right, that's good. Anything else to add about wrestling?
I think it's a good time to be a wrestling fan.
Oh, that came from the heart there.
And I think I'd challenge anybody that has never even watched AEW. Go to YouTube, click on the CM Punk entrance. Don't look at it, just play it.
Listen.
Oh.
And it'll take you back to the 90s.
I must have to take you back to the 90s, but you can hear authenticity.
The pop from the crowd.
Correct.
The true excitement.
True.
Not people's faces on TV screens around an arena.
Correct. Which was like watching a Stephen King movie come to life, like Total Recall or something. Yeah. Jeez, Running creepy. Man, all this weird stuff.
I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, wait, what is are those TV? What?
Yeah, weird.
Yeah, that was weird. That was weird. Okay, last bonus question here. If you had a wrestling name, what would it be? Do you know?
Midnight Sugar.
That's awesome. It's great. I love it.
Right.
I love it.
You're never ready for it.
If you had a tag team, who would be your tag team partner?
Flip.
Really?
Yeah. Moist and Meaty.
Say what?
Moist and Meaty.
That's your tag team name. That's great.
We already have the trunks.
Okay. All right. You come up with a name for Heath. Or Brandon. Or Ralph.
Heath would have to be an Oscar the Grouch type character. But he would be orange.
He'd be orange. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Redheaded Wonder or something.
He would just be real grumpy.
Oh, okay.
That would be his gimmick. He wasn't. You would just show like people
he
giving
want to
him
wrestle,
gifts,
but he's there
and he would just say
he seemed pissed off that you woke him up and he has to do this battle.
He would just be meh.
Okay. What about Brandon? I know this is boring to people who don't know them, but you got to know they know Heath. Actually, Heath's been on the podcast.
Yeah.
So, what about Brandon? You think about Brandon.
Whatever you gave him, you would take away.
He'd be Paul Bear. Okay, so what about the black hole? There you go. Okay, and then Ralph. Would Ralph be a highfalutin manager of a wrestler? Would he be the?
I would want Ralph to run the company.
Oh, Ralph would be the guy coming out Vince McMahon style?
No, Ralph would be the man behind all of it.
Oh, he'd be Linda McMahon.
Possibly.
And the male version, obviously.
Or whatever.
Or whatever. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Got it all figured out there.
Yep.
Hey, folks, again, let us know in the chat. Do you watch wrestling? Do you watch wrestling today? Is Wes right? Is AEW killing it? Is WWE losing it? Let us know. And we'll see you next time on Princes of the Universe.
Oh, yeah. Dig it.